It's in the Ministry report for the Unified Galactic Military Council to read, yet there's far more than one. Each of the reports is different. There's no true baseline to work with, and they're confused. Recently, a new species had informed their population about the rest of the universe. After some of the population rebelled, revolted, or simply tore their own government down to the ground, they all began to accept the reality of it is what it is. The humans, as they are called, demanded certain provisions as they were going to join the rest of the universe. These were going to be given anyway, but the new territory that reached out over a sector in every direction was the very first one. It seems as though the humans wanted extra room to grow. This was easy, as no one could actually lay claim to any of the area, nor did they actually want to. It seems that the humans were discovered by complete accident in the dead zone and had been monitored for a very, very long time. Now that they knew there was other species, there was going to be a restriction on the number of ships any species can send or accumulate within human territory at any given time. This was a very strict limit. Something also called a non-aggressive pact was quickly acknowledged and signed by all parties involved. This assured that no hostility will be aimed at the humans, and it also restricts the humans from engaging with warring species, at least with those that signed right next to the humans. With tensions between the tweakers and the stoners reaching a critical mass, humanity's new leadership immediately forbade any of either species from trading with humanity or traversing within human space. Any cross into this would be in violation of the pact and nullify their signature, meaning they would not be facing one species but two. Though an annoyance, this one piece of legislation did actually settle tensions eventually. This was a good thing, especially as the council continued reading the reports. In the reports, everybody wonders what would have happened if humans actually did get involved. As another report was raised and read, everyone could see across the table the trespassers continued to change position, almost like they were uncomfortable, but they were actually getting more and more interested in another Death World species that seemed to be like them. The Inscator representatives were getting more and more nervous, however. They were moving too, but they were not looking interested. They were actually looking nervous, especially since it was an open secret that the Inscators were planning on violating human space in order to elicit a response. In the reports that just kept coming, military units from different clans of humanity's military were placed in similar scenarios to assess their viability in combat, as well as set a baseline on how to best utilize the humans' military. Yet, there was something wrong. They looked at each of them and they saw it's all different. They tried to place similar reports together, and they were color-coded to try and match with a different type of clans. The plan was to simply stack the reports on each other, and the highest pile would actually be the one they would go with. Yet, all they got was not piles, but a mosaic display of all the reports spread out across the massive table. In truth, there was only one true commonality in the reports, and that's the fact that the scenario is the scenario for all of them, and the humans were placed under the command of a galactic officer. Though many humans objected to this, they were assured that it was only for the exercise, as most of the galactic species are led by a matriarchal standard due to females usually being larger than males, which is seemingly opposite on Earth. As it turns out, only female officers were chosen for this reason, as males are considered the weaker of the species. In this scenario, the officer would be lost, and the humans would be monitors to see the results. But the results, they just don't make sense. In many cases, those under the command would question the decisions of the officer as they were making it. Some, as they claim, they didn't take orders from females. Yet the majority seemed to care for the welfare of the officers, and this is why they countermanded the orders constantly, belaying the orders and making sure that they heard things right. Why would they risk one of their own? This was even more apparent when the officer was struck down. Some seemed to care less than nothing, while others would nearly destroy the test range on the other side of the officers and put themselves in high risk to attempt to save this officer, to get them out of harm's way, get them back, and to someone they called Doc, even going so far as abandoning their posts on occasions, refusing to stop even when told that the officer was long since dead. After which, the reports got very interesting. In some cases, the unit simply stopped in place. They refused to move unless another officer arrived to give them explicit orders on what to do. Others simply gave up, grabbed their belongings, and left the area. It was though without the officers, they had no reason to continue at all. Technically speaking, this meant that they surrendered the positions that they had just captured. Other human clans waits, immediately assesses the area and secures the closest key terrain and simply waited. They called this a strange phrase. They called it digging in. Yet it was rare to actually see a human dig. If they did, they dug very, very deep and surprisingly quickly. These defenses were also very well conceived, with the interlocking fields of fire that would be very difficult at best to break through, and it seemed like the defenses were exactly what they were trying to do: draw the enemy in and wait until they get close and then hurt them. Then there was the most dangerous reactions. These humans, when realizing the officer had been removed from the battlefield, quickly rallied their forces and began to get very, very aggressive. It appears to all that removing the commanding officer from these humans essentially moved the tether from their necks, charging forward with abandon and almost glee, flanking if they're held down, calling in for support so close to their positions that it seemed like it was going to destroy them as well, yet never stopping even as they destroyed all the training bots they were fighting against, not until taking so many casualties that they had no choice but to tend to their wounded. Yet once this task was complete, they continued their campaign of brutality until another officer showed up on site and told them specifically to halt. If they didn't, these default aggressive humans would simply kill everything. Out of all these different outcomes, there was some slight consistencies, and this is what they were after. But this had nothing to do really with the humans themselves, but the way their officers showed up. Any officer that showed up and tried to show dominance upon first arriving was rarely protected. And in some cases, it seemed as though the humans were looking for a way to remove this officer without being caught. Some microphones did catch up a few recordings, and, well, it seemed they wanted to do something that wasn't what the council thought at first. They thought it was a different word, but no, something about fragging an officer. Despite this, when they saw that an officer came in and demonstrated concern for the humans, they were not just protected, but viciously protected. It seems as though the humans would do anything to make sure this officer was still standing at the end, even though scenarios would not allow it. There was also an issue with any officer that looked close to the human forms. The more they do, like the feminine, the more the humans stared and watched, and on some occasions, offered to mate. It seems as though that officer had their choice of humans at any given time, which made them hesitate a little bit. This last part confused the council a lot until a new report arrived inside their council chamber. When handed this, the council members simply stood up, began reading out and showing the different videos, and the entire council was shocked and even angry at what they found. It seemed like any officer that was protected by the human clans, any human clans, decided to test a rumor. A rumor that humans have no mating cycle and can mate after only 15 to 30 minutes of rest. There was even an officer that had tested a human female in the support units, as the rumor was even more outlandish that the human females did not even need rest. Now, they are all requesting that they be transferred under human command inside human territory. Immediately after this, an order was issued, an order that was meant to cover both instances of untamed aggression and potential loss of the best officers. Order number Foxtrot Uniform Niner 11 69 Whiskey Tango Foxtrot was very simple as it read: do not frack the humans. The order was sent out the moment it was drafted. It took less than a single minute before several notifications came in saying how they disapproved with this order, making official complaints. This made the council have to sit and think perhaps all the rumors they had heard of the humans were true. Perhaps they needed to really worry about this. Then, one of the council said something very, very interesting. Since the humans have become FTL capable, they're now building their own fleet. And if the human armies are this destructive to our own militaries, how bad will it be working with the human navies? Hello everybody, this is Syntax. Thank you for joining me today on this short story, which was kind of a hat tip to the different militaries around the world. And before I go, I need to say that today's winner is Chris Dixon, with Douglas Scarborough coming in a close second. I also need to send out some giant thank yous to the supporters of the channel, and they are MTF Guard, Guardian Sage, Brian Kemp, Prozac and Pancakes, Erica Gem, SS Demon, and Sir. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. Everybody else, I'll see you on the next one. This is Syntax, punching out.